So in this segment, we're going to be talking about UK firms overhauling their supply chains after Brexit and the pandemic, according to the Office of National Statistics, the ONS. So I did find this quite interesting. There is a big hole in this strategy for certain manufacturers, which we'll talk about at the end of the video. But nearly a third of firms across Britain's manufacturing, wholesale and retail trade sectors have suffered from supply chain problems as the pandemic and Brexit have brought havoc, according to the ONS. The ONS have said 30% of businesses in those sectors reported global supply chain disruption in January, according to data from its regular Business Insights and Conditions survey. It would be interesting to know what the breakdown would be of how much COVID has hit them compared to Brexit. Maybe the ONS should ask that on a survey. It signalled that 16% of all UK firms were hit with supply chain issues, or as many as 26% when businesses with 10 or fewer employees are stripped out. So that once they strip out extremely small businesses, 26%, so over a quarter of them are impacted, which doesn't surprise me, considering like if you're trying to get certain goods, even if you own something like a hair salon, if your hair products are imported, you're gonna feel problems. That's a key problem. The woes have been seen in 20 UK businesses. 5% overhauled their supply chains due to the Brexit transition period on December 2020, with some switching to UK suppliers or EU suppliers with UK operations, with many diversifying their supply chain. So diversification of supply chains is a good idea. There are issues with getting freight out of China and other countries. It's very expensive now. There is another problem of just getting it processed at the ports, especially post Brexit. There were stories, I think, can't remember which year it was, of Felixstowe, one of the UK's biggest ports, essentially being overrun. So the goods were processed in Rotterdam instead, which is obviously not in the UK. Rotterdam is in the Netherlands. The ONS data revealed that more than half, 58% of firms, have changed their supply chains, were using more UK supply since Brexit, although that is down from 71% earlier in the year. The question is that what happens when you can't find these products manufactured in Britain? We've done a video previously about how this company TMS, who make thermostats and other things, have left their operations in the UK. So if you're a car manufacturer in the UK, you won't be able to source those products from TMS anymore. There might be other thermostat manufacturers in the UK that you can use for your car, but the likelihood of that is probably not that great, considering how sought after thermostats are. It's a bit more of a niche thing, I think. British firms have been hit with a double whammy of Brexit fallout and pandemic pressures on supply chains. I did see a story recently, I think we'll cover it, where the UK is one of the last developed countries to actually get their exports back in line to what they were kind of pre-pandemic, which isn't really a surprise to anyone who's done any basic reading on this stuff. With sectors across most of the economy suffering staff shortages, that's a cost of freedom of movement, shipping, that could be a Brexit issue, but it's hard to know without checking what products they have, and distribution problems, which, lack of lorry drivers, again, a Brexit problem, and issues with the availability of a raft of raw materials and goods. That's typically because there's been a global demand on certain products like timber. So the ONS, it says in its analysis of recent data, shows that while global supply chain pressures are at historically high levels, there are signs that these may have peaked and started to moderate a little, hopefully. But as global supply chain issues kind of dissipate and are reduced, other countries can go back to normal. The UK will be an outlier in this. There are fears that Russia's invasion of Ukraine will further impact global shortages. It will do on certain products, the ones that Russia and Ukraine kind of specialise in terms of exports. I think grain is one of them, wheat is another. And there are hundreds of thousands of firms worldwide are believed to rely on Russian and Ukrainian suppliers. There are worries the war will also lead to further shortages of semiconductor chips, as Ukraine supplies around 50% of the rare gases critical to their production. That's something interesting that I didn't know, that Ukraine supplies this gas which is needed for the creation of things like CPUs. And so there is a massive CPU shortage globally as is, so that will potentially get worse. The market's gone back towards normal. I think I watched a Gamers Nexus video on it today, so that's going to get worse, especially for the car industry. Global chip shortages have been hitting the new car market hard, leading to lengthy production delays and sending prices across the sector, because CPUs are important in these newer cars because of the computers and things they have on board, and so they can't be created without the CPUs, unless you create an older style of car, which no one really wants to buy that if you're buying a brand new car. Fewer sectors have emerged unscathed, however, by the worker and material shortages have emerged since last summer, as economies worldwide recovered from the pandemic. But the thing is, right, the UK is still going to face massive worker shortages because of the end of freedom of movement. So as other countries get back to normal, and EU member states do okay when it comes to staffing, because those kind of people who do move for work or are looking for better job opportunities won't be coming to the UK anymore. They'll have other options: Ireland, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Portugal, Italy, Spain, among other countries that they can go to for better opportunities. The UK will not be one of them, so it creates a bigger talent pool for those countries. The ONS said while there was clear evidence that both Brexit and the COVID-19 crisis have been taking their toll on supply chains, it is challenging to accurately measure to what extent business supply chains have been affected so far, if so, whether they are likely to be permanent. And I don't get what the ONS are talking about here. The Brexit ones will be permanent so long as we have a Tory government that follow this dogma. But with the COVID stuff, that will hopefully go soon. There are still massive spikes with it more recently. I think in China they had a recent lockdown in one of the areas, so it's still not gone, but it's not as bad as it was last year or the year before. It added that the changes made to supplier bases may help with future shocks. The desire to reduce offshore supply implies businesses in the UK might be looking to minimise risks from trade disruption, making the supply chains more resilient in the wake of the EU exit and the COVID-19 pandemic, which is good. Being more, relying more on British businesses is not necessarily a bad thing. There are massive problems though, with the staffing shortage. Can factories and other manufacturing hubs get up to speed and manufacture the things that other British companies need? Probably not without freedom of movement. There have been shortages in manufacturing, in warehousing, in logistics. So that's a key problem. Without the free movement of goods, companies that need raw materials, which the UK is not, massively a producer of, things like timber, metals and other things, will still have to import those. So even if you want to be more reliant on other British manufacturers, you're still going to need to import raw materials. That's a key problem as well. Logistics we mentioned a minute ago, but with the shortage of lorry drivers, how are you going to even move components from, say, a warehouse in Birmingham to, say, a factory in Newcastle? How are you even going to do that? I don't know. Evidently they are looking at moving. Companies are looking to get what they can from the UK, but as more and more manufacturing moves out of the UK, especially for smaller components, OEM parts, what are you supposed to do then? TMS being one of them, but there'll be among others that leave, especially as some of these big industries are very much merged together. The car industry is one of those where you have loads of different car kind of companies under one umbrella. I hope that makes sense to people. I'm not just rambling endlessly, but having a diversity of suppliers is good, and relying more on local manufacturing is also good. But the simple fact is, there is a reason why the single market and the customs union exist. It's because why if you're a manufacturer in Germany, for example, right, you can't get whatever you need in Germany. Say Germany's agriculture is not as good as other countries, for example. They can import meats or whatever they need from other countries. Fine, and they can do that with ease. No need for customs and all this nonsense. The UK can't do that. If we're in a position where we have to import things, it's going to have to go through the border, and it's going to come with delays and other things, especially with a lorry driver shortage, and I think more and more European drivers refusing to come to the UK because of the long delays. It's going to cause more problems. This year's a rough one for us. I'll tell you that one for free. And if you are in the logistics business, good luck, Chief. You're going to need it. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I rambled a lot at the end. Hopefully it made sense. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.